Welcome to Big Muddy Mayhem, the podcast where we talk about true crime and bad behavior in the Midwest.
Each week, we'll bring you 2 stories from the heartland that might break your heart, but we hope to entertain you along the way.
I'm Janet O'Brien.
I'm Tracey Laricha.
Hello!
Hello, Janet! How are you?
Good. This is the 49th episode.
I know, episode 49. And we are crushing out an extra one so that we can be on a nice round episode 50 for our live.
Right. Oh my gosh.
I know, we said we weren't going to talk about the live a lot this week. We're going to talk a little bit about the live this week.
Well, the thing is, they're probably going to hear this after the live.
Probably, yes, because it'll come after. But just know that right now we are shitting ourselves. And yet we still came through with 2 great stories.
I know.
For you this week.
I know.
But how can we disappoint Muddy Buddies in October?
We can't.
No,
not at all.
Absolutely.
Do we have to find scary?
Yes.
Do we have to find, a little haunty, a little Halloweenish for October?
Yes.
All the time.
Is our biggest fear worrying that we're going to show up with the same story on the same day?
Possibly.
Yes. For Halloween, we should just dress as identical scripts, like identical show notes.
Oh my God.
All right.
Oh.
But you, my dear, goes first this week.
I do.
All right.
So, I've been trying to find...
Scare me, Janet.
Fine. Oh, wait a minute before I start. I want to mention that Archon happened this past weekend.
Right, yes.
It was amazing.
Uh-huh.
It was really, really good. I got to see friends I never get to see. Shout out to Andy Shimamoto. I haven't seen him in a while.
Oh, wow.
Shout out to Mary. Oh my God, she didn't pick a character. Mm-hmm. She just went with, I wonder if I can make that.
Oh, okay.
I have to find you a picture. I'm sorry.
Visual media, that's all right.
She did, oh my God, okay. She did a fish. She did one of these fish.
Oh my goodness. Oh, one of the, I think they're called anglerfish.
It's an anglerfish.
Right, yeah, she's got, the lights are on her boobs, which is kind of how we lure our prey too, right, ladies? And then, like, the big, toothy hole, like, down at the skirt level, right, ladies? And then, like, something nice and bright and bobbly on top.
Right, ladies?
Oh, very cute.
Isn't that great?
That is very cute.
Anyway, I had a really, really good time.
Good.
We get to hang out with Susan and Keith and Rob and Katie, and there was other people that was there. There was a lot of people there, but I don't ever remember everybody's names, but it was a lot of fun.
Sure.
It was a little inconvenient that it happened to be the weekend prior to a certain live thing. But
well, good. I'm glad that you went and got to go and have a good time.
Oh my God, yeah. It was
all
good.
Right.
Okay,
Fantastic.
now for real.
All right.
I have a story.
Don't bore us. Get to the chorus.
Okay. This one involves the Mississippi River.
Oh.
It involves boats.
Nice.
And it involves ghosts.
I love all of those things.
Right?
All right.
So have you heard of Captain Mary Becker Greene?
I have not.
I had not either. And here we are. She was born in 1867.
Okay.
In 1890, she met and married Gordon Christopher Greene.
Right.
They had 3 children.
Okay.
Thomas Ray Greene, Henry Wilkins Greene, and Christopher Becker Greene. In 1897, she earned her captain's license.
Oh my goodness. That is in 1897.
Yes, she owned her She was the captain of many riverboats on the Mississippi.
Damn, that's wonderful.
She earned that in 1897. She was the matriarch of the Greene family and the Green Line steamers.
Okay.
So they used to be, her husband wanted to start a business.
Okay.
With boats. And so...
She's like, let me help you with that?
Yeah, she was totally into it. They were the Green Line steamers. When they moved to Cincinnati in 1904, they renamed it the Green Line because obviously we're kind of. I think that's when we start getting a little away from steamers. Not every boat is a steamer.
Absolutely, you're
right.
starting
You got
to
paddle
see
boats.
More, different kinds of boats. Now, do we know? Did she? So the captain education and all of that, did that come after her marriage or before?
I don't know.
We're not sure. Okay.
I'm not really sure. She was also the honorary president of the Sons and Daughters of Pioneer Rivermen.
Well.
At one point, she was referred to as Ma Greene, even though she never went by that.
Okay.
Boats that she captained.
All right.
The H.K. Bedford, which was built in 1885. It was bought by her husband, Gordon. That was the very first boat they bought to start their business in 1890. It was 145 foot long. And then the next boat they got was called the Neva. It was 117 feet, built in 1898.
The Neva?
The Neva, N-E-V-A.
Okay. I'm like, I don't know if I would get on a boat called the Neva. It might make you a little bit suspicious as to whether or not you would reach your destination. I want to get on a boat called the Certainly.
I'm sorry it took me a moment to get that joke. Now I do.
Well, this is you.
That was sold to the Greene family September 24th in 1904.
Okay.
She captained the Argand, A-R-G-A-N-D. It was 132 foot. Built in 1896. It was sold to them in 1927. Mm-hmm. Actually, no, they got it in 1896. They sold it in 1927.
Okay.
And shortly after they sold it, the boiler caught on fire. So it burnt down.
Wow.
But,
well,
that's...
lucky break for them.
Right,
yeah?
exactly.
That's kind of like, you sold your car and then, the engine blows up.
Right. And they bought the Greenland boat, which was 210 feet. That was built in 1903. And I tried to find information on this. I was not a very good researcher. But I'm pretty sure her husband did pass away eventually.
Okay.
He was a little bit older, and they built a boat in 1922 called the Gordon C. Greene.
Oh.
So I assume that's her husband's.
Was he buried at sea?
I
have all the questions today.
She basically, the Gordon C. Greene boat, that was her personal boat that her and her children and her grandchildren,
so this is where they lived, because this was
I don't know if they lived on it, but it was their personal boat.
Got it.
So they had to have their own boat. And then in 1927, the Delta Queen was built, and that is the boat we're going to be focusing on today.
Okay.
It was 285 feet. She was the captain, she was a master, and she was a pilot. It was built in 1927. It was purchased by Green Line in 1946. This boat only went out of service back in 2008.
Wow. Okay.
So I was looking up lots of articles, and there's lots of people who remember being on this boat that are still around.
Completely. And I think there are still boats that run along the Mississippi that have names like,
right,
Delta Queen, Mississippi Queen, that sort of thing.
And it was, it went up, it ended up retiring basically in New Orleans. That's where it lives right now.
Right, okay.
But it's a very interesting boat. Let me find screenshots.
Fantastic. Now, you said retiring in New Orleans. Is this still...
You're not able to go on it at the moment, but, here we go.
But she's there in the water or dry?
It's docked.
Dry docked. Okay.
Yeah. So that's her and Gordon. That's her husband.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, she has a very I like her flair. For somebody that's, she's almost in a cute little velour pantsuit type thing with ties up the front and shoes that. Ma'am, those are gorgeous, but they've got kind of pointy toes and slippery soles for running around on a boat. And he is a man that can afford a very tall hat and has a really nice, it looks like kind of a black, again, velvety or brocade suit and a bow tie on. And they are standing on what does appear to be like the deck of a ship, like the railing of a ship.
Right, yeah, that's one of their boats.
And he is about a good, like, 1.5 feet taller than her.
Right. So, let's see here. Here's her cap.
Oh!
She's behind the wheel.
She's behind the wheel, and she's holding a spoke of that wheel like she knows how to handle that thing.
Yeah. Here's a picture of her after her husband passed away, her and her son. Because her son, I'm pretty sure boats just, everybody did something on the boat.
Sure. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I was going to say, so her son is, next to her?
Yes.
And he's the one that is in
the
what looks
uniform.
like a captain's uniform.
Right.
Yeah. And again, just right, and it looks like wherever they are now, there are some mountains almost, or like large hills in the background.
I'm not really sure. Oh, here's another good one. I like this a lot.
Oh, yeah. She is older at this age and still just sitting behind the captain's wheel, taking a look at the instruments and just looking out over the river.
Yeah. And then this is I think, an older picture when they were slightly younger. Her and her husband.
Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah, I was going to say still.
Younger. And then here is a picture of the Delta Queen.
Okay, yeah, it looks like it's a very large, this was from 2003, this is a very large paddle wheel boat. It does look like it also does have a steam stack, so it looks like it could probably operate under either.
Yes, and
it looks very similar to the paddle boats and the, the boats that go up and down the Mississippi today if you take one of those cruises.
Right, so she loved, her after her husband passed, she was still running a lot of things for the Green Line. She was basically the matriarch of the company. When she would do these cruises, she would have a lot of women come along with her, and they would do the food, and they do the setups, and she loved decorating and all that. So she had a group of women who were like, oh yeah, we're going to go in the boat with you, and we're going to help you.
Oh, nice. So she starts training each one teach one.
Right. So because of this, They end up going, her last trip, she ends up going down to New Orleans, and when they return from New Orleans, she normally stayed in room 109 on the boat, but there was a few more passengers, and so to accommodate the passengers, she ended up staying a few nights in room 106 after the sailing. Okay. Cincinnati, April 23rd, Captain Mary Becker Greene, 80. She's 80 at this point. The rank of co-pilot on the Ohio and Mississippi rivers died here last night. A veteran of 50 years on the rivers, she died aboard her steamer shortly after completing a trip to New Orleans. Captain Greene was the widow of the late Gordon C. Greene, one of the founders of the Green Line, operators of the last packet line between Cincinnati and New Orleans. So this is a news article. She passed away, I think it was 47 or 48 is when she passed away. Okay. But yeah, this is a little news article in the Pittsburgh.
Right.
So she died in that room. She switched rooms. She passed away. Old age. Nothing suspicious.
But then she didn't die in her room.
She did not die in her room. No. But she went to sleep. Just didn't wake up.
In her boat. Okay.
That's how that works. So nothing new. I mean, I'm sure the family kind of stayed into it. Obviously, one of her children was a captain or something. Years later, though, there had started to be talk about how they felt like room 109, the one she used to stay in all the time, not the one she died in, would have interesting things. They would hear noises and stuff like that.
So the attachment is there.
Right, it's attached to that room more than anything. Hauntings of the Delta Queen. Because she tended to haunt that boat in particular, the last boat she was on.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Right.
Even though she has been on others. But
so many boats. December, it's in December. This is 1985. It was in New Orleans.
Wait, 1985?
1985.
Okay.
The boat is still going. Remember? They only retired this boat in 2009.
Wow.
So it's parked because it needs some repairs. One of the mates is staying on the boat because they want somebody on the boat.
Sure, you need somebody there just kind of for security emergencies,
right.
that kind of thing.
So Mike Williams, he's sleeping on the boat that night, waiting for repairs. It's a dark and stormy night in December around
It
New
was
Orleans.
a dark and
stormy night. He was the first officer on this boat. He was asleep, and he was awakened by a sound next to his ear. And he's the only person on the boat.
Oh.
And the sound in his ear is just a psst.
Oh.
You know, one of those attention things. So he's like, he wakes up, and he's like, what the? I'm the only one supposed. Did somebody sneak on the boat? So he gets up, and he starts wandering around, and he's going over towards where it's the captain lounge area.
Okay.
And he hears a door slam, and he's like, because he's on a boat. You want to make sure all of your doors are closed, especially when you're going to sleep. You don't want, what if some waves came in and the boat is kind of rocking? You want to make sure all those doors are closed.
Completely. You don't want to take on water.
And he's like, what is going on? So he walks down there, and he noticed the sound came from room 109.
Oh.
So he reaches for the doorknob to make sure it's locked, and the door just flings open.
Hi, Ma.
And he's like, what is going on? So he's flashing his flashlight in there, and he's like, I don't understand what's happening. But he's like, there's nobody in there. Everything is set up nicely. He's like, I don't know what that noise was. So he just kind of puts it out of his mind. It freaks him out, but he's just like, I can't explain that. So he, after checking that out, you know, he had heard all these other stories about people getting haunted on the boat. And he still kind of pushed
didn't
it aside.
believe it.
It's like, I don't know what that was, but
But it probably wasn't the, you know.
Right.
But now.
A few months later, in June of 1985, assistant purser. I did not look up what purser is, but apparently that is a thing that you do. A
purser is somebody on the boat that holds like your money and your valuables.
Oh, okay.
And stuff like that. So
purse.
that's where you go.
She holds the purse.
Right.
Got
so
it.
if you need to like exchange currency, if you need to like take stuff that you're carrying,
that makes
that's
sense.
valuable. I believe that is what I'm going to feel like the biggest dum-dum in the world if I'm wrong. But I'm reasonably certain that that's.
So this woman, Myra Frechet, she was brand new on the boat.
Okay.
She is a new employee, and she's working as an assistant purser.
Who doesn't love a brand new purser? Am I right, ladies?
And she's working on the Delta Queen. She receives a phone call from an elderly lady saying she is cold in her cabin, and she really would like, I guess blankets or some kind of help.
An extra blanket or Can someone do anything to, make it more comfortable?
Right. And Myra, she doesn't really want to leave her position, so she calls up to one of the officers to see if they could go drop by this room. And that officer happened to be Mike Williams, who we talked about just a few minutes ago.
Yes.
He's working that night. He's never met Myra because she's a brand new person. And he goes to check on the cabin.
Sure.
It turns out it's room 109.
Whoopsie. All right. Well,
he knocks
am
on
I cold?
He knocks on the door. Nobody answers. He opens the door. Nobody is staying in that room.
Oh, dear.
Because, she's the purser, so she doesn't know who is in what cabin, right?
But on a boat, every person does every job. If watching below deck has taught me,
everybody does the same.
You gotta be able to jump in,
right?
when needed to help.
So he's looking around, and he's like, "No, there was like chocolates on the pillow and everything. There was nobody in there because there was nobody staying in it."
Right. So the room is set for guests, but does not have a guest.
So he ends up going back upstairs, and he talks to Myra, and he's like, there's nobody staying in that room tonight. It's not booked. And she's like, that's really weird. But before Mike makes it back to the purser office, after he's checked on room 109, Myra is sitting there, and all of a sudden she sees this old lady on the deck staring at her through the window. And so she's like,
there is absolutely someone in that room.
So she's like, well, maybe she came out here to get, because she's cold. So she goes outside. Nobody's on the deck. She's like, I don't know what that was. Wow. So her and Mike Williams, they start talking about this, and Mike's like, well, I did have kind of an experience. I don't know. And she's like, yeah, there's an old woman, like, look at, I swear, you know. And so they start to, let's go back down to room 109. So they start walking, and they pass, because she's a brand new employee, she sees the portrait of Mary.
And she's like, oh, that's her.
Yes. Like, that's the woman I saw.
For a minute, I thought you just had a story about a meet cute for me, but clearly no.
No, clearly like, no, that is the lady. That's the lady I saw. And he's like, yeah, that can be a weird thing. I guess. Okay. Now things are starting to like, what's going on here? She thought the lady had come down for assistance, but, you know, when she couldn't find her, Mike ended up... obviously, Myra's kind of freaked out about the whole thing. Right. Mike's like, you know what? Let me just walk you back to your cabin, and we'll just, you know, that way you feel safe or whatever. They walk back to the cabin, and they're on the boat together, and because of this connection, they start dating.
Oh, praise Poseidon, or whatever the river god is. Yay!
They get married. Oh. They have their honeymoon night on that boat.
Wow. God, you know there was just a creepy old ghost watching them get each other.
And I'm like...
just sitting there in a rocking chair.
Now, again, this might be an Unsolved Mysteries episode that I watched. And they're interviewing the actual people this happened to. And the Mike was... 80s TV is so different than today's. Like, and our daughter was conceived on that boat.
So bold. Actually, 80s TV is not so different from TV today. I don't know if you've been watching Love is Blind or any of the trash that I love to devour.
But apparently that's where, yeah. And so when this story came out, they started to say, you know, the things that Mike did for that boat, and he did everything, they really felt like Mary was looking out for him. Oh,
because she's like, she loved the...
She had a husband and kids, right. You know, it was the whole thing, and she's like...
It was her vessel.
Yeah, and they really felt like that Mary was playing matchmaker with him.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Like, hey, you should come check out room 109.
And if not, then those two at least win... Every single dinner party that they will ever go to for the rest of their lives, they are going to win the... So how did you two meet?
Exactly. They have the best meetup story.
They really do. Oh, that's great.
So it's a short and sweet story.
It is short, and it is very, very sweet.
It is. I mean, there was a death, but it wasn't any, you know...
Right. It just, somebody got old and died doing what they loved.
Exactly. So. And she wanted to continue that on for the people running her boat.
And now, I mean, do we know they got married? Do we know if there are boat babies?
Like I said, no,
one. There are the one. Okay, so there's boat babies. So there might be boat grandbabies and all of that.
Exactly.
There's a whole boat line on the Green Line.
but that's my fun story.
That was a great one. That was super sweet.
Yeah,
it's aw.
You know, not a whole lot of twists and turns, but I really felt like
it's all right.
It had all the things.
Yeah, no, that was a good one. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I did not know about her, and also she was the only captain of the state of Ohio. Woman captain.
The only female captain in the state of Ohio. Mm-hmm. It would be cooler if she was the only captain. Like, I own you, Ohio. Ha ha! Your rivers belong to me. All right. Well, Janet...
Do you have a story for me?
I do have a story for me. Mm-hmm. And we are continuing spooky season this week. Mm-hmm. I am taking a page from your book, and I'm covering a story that was featured on a favorite TV show of yours. But we're going to get to that eventually.
Okay.
We'll get to that later. Have you heard the story of the Tallman family?
No, I have not.
Okay. We're going to travel back to 1987. Spray your hair, get out your rocker. Alan and Debbie Tallman, they are moving into their new home in Horicon, Wisconsin.
Okay.
They are a young family, and they've got a young son named Kenny and a daughter, Marianne. and they've got a new baby named Chris. Now, Alan is a shift supervisor at a manufacturing plant. Horicon is kind of just one of those like very small, like manufacturing, it's all industrial town. And Debbie is a homemaker. And the house they're moving into on Larrabee Street is newly built.
Oh.
It was apparently part of some kind of housing initiative project where, like, oh, okay, people with the skills, you can help build these homes and you can buy these homes at a steep discount. So he's been working, like, doing that, and they get to purchase one of the homes, and they pay about $50,000 for the house. Now, this is 1987.
Wow, so that's expensive.
I was going to say, but still, do you, like, if you take a look at what the market is today, you can see that, and they get a fairly decent house for $50,000. 1987, this one.
Yeah.
It's a little 3-bedroom ranch.
Yep.
It looks a lot like the house
Got a
I grew
one-car
up
garage.
in. Yeah, and my folks, got theirs for less, but they bought in the early 70s.
Right.
So, yeah, 87, this isn't a bad deal for
Right.
them. But as a family that has 3 kids, including a brand new baby, and that just bought a house, you know that they're obviously looking to kind of furnish and like feather the nest on the cheap, like with what they can get.
Right.
So a lot of times this means that you shop secondhand.
Right.
And there's no shame in that. We like to thrift. I mean, looking around here, apart from the dining room table that we're sitting at, I can't see a single piece of furniture in the room where we are that we bought new.
Right.
Oh, wait, no, that bookshelf came from Target.
Okay.
Be jealous. Anyway, you know it's said that some objects can kind of carry attachments or bad energy.
Yes, I have heard that.
And sometimes something just kind of really, as the kids say, kills the vibe. Buckle up.
Okay.
This is... Strap in. This is scary. The Tallmans have brought home something haunted.
Oh, no.
The Tallmans...
What have they brought home?
They have brought home Janet.
Oh, Tracey.
Janet.
Tracey.
Janet.
Tracey.
A haunted bunk bed.
Ooh, no, it's a haunted bunk bed.
And it's the most 1980s
oh,
bunk
yeah,
bed.
it is. It's, yeah.
The mattresses are printed with like that burnt orange.
Oh, yeah, they are. Yeah. To anybody and everybody who thinks the 80s was all neon, lies. It's lies. It was brown and yellow everywhere.
Some vestiges of the 70s.
So much
left
beige.
over here. So they bring home the haunted bunk bed. Now, the funny thing is, they bring the bunk bed home, and there's no problem. There's no indication anything's wrong.
Of course not.
Now, they assemble it in the basement, and they kind of store it in the basement because they're still getting the house together. Mm-hmm. And then, when months later, in May of 87, they move into the house, they move the bunk beds upstairs.
Of course.
Rooms are painted. You know, you don't move your furniture in before you paint your walls.
You know I did that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I had 3 weeks where I got to paint.
Oof, that's hard to do.
Before I moved in.
Yikes. But yeah, so in May of 87, when they move the bunk beds up, things start to get weird.
Okay.
Now, at first, this is just little stuff. The father, Alan, he's painting and he goes upstairs for lunch and he comes back and his paintbrush has been moved and now it's sticking straight up bristles up in a paint bucket.
Okay.
Okay. Some whispered voices that you think you hear when nobody's there, but you're in a new home.
Right, exactly.
Right. And then, little things like apparitions in your bedroom. Little stuff like that.
Just little stuff like that.
Right. Little things. So, the Tallmans don't make too much of this at first, but Debbie also notices that the kids are getting sick constantly.
Oh, no.
Nothing like deadly, nothing tragic, but colds, flus, fevers, strep throat, ear infections, nose infections, whatever.
Right.
They are getting sick, and sometimes all 3 at once.
Oh, wow.
Now, Although, you have 3 small kids.
You're passing the bugs around
If
constantly.
one of them gets sick,
they're all sick.
then next thing you know, you're just racing. You need more than one puke bucket eventually.
Right.
Right? In addition, their daughter, Marianne, keeps talking about seeing a red-eyed witch on fire at the foot of her bed. The bunk bed. And she's like, okay, she's imaginative. The kids, obviously, they're young. They're in this new space.
Right.
New neighborhood and all of that. But then their son, Kenny, who's a couple of years older, still young, but
sure.
I think he's maybe about 7 or so. He says something one day about how he saw the same thing. He describes a lady on fire with red eyes. And he claims that his parents had just given him a clock radio.
Yeah.
They'd gotten a new one, so they gave him the old one.
Of course.
And it's like the one that I had in college where
everybody with the red numbers and
the
the
red
brown
numbers and the brown dial.
Yep.
And the dial, you had to move it. There were no buttons. There was no digital skip. You had to dial in and then hope you get it right.
Right.
He claims that the dial on the radio moves by itself at night.
Oh, great.
And they say their cat is acting weird.
Oh, no. Okay.
So, at this point, they've excused too much. Sure, kids get sick. Kids have active imaginations. New houses can feel scary. And let's face it, cats do frequently act weird.
They do.
2 of the 3 of mine are sequestered right now for that very reason. So the Tallmans call their pastor, Pastor Wayne Dobratz. Now, I'm going to show you a photo of Pastor Wayne.
Okay, yeah, he's bald. He looks like he's from the 80s. He has that same pair of glasses that are...
Everybody had. Way oversized.
Yeah, way oversized, and they look like they turn into sunglasses when they go out.
I'm sure. Those were transitions.
Oh, those are definitely my mom has been wearing transitions since
and
I don't know when she's not worn them.
And they look like they don't ever get not gray. The gradient never fully fades.
Right.
Anyway, they call on Pastor Wayne, and he comes to visit the house. And as pastors will do, he's there to offer comfort to the family in troubled times. So he says, "Yes, I really feel the presence of evil. This is the work of the devil."
Okay.
Then he blesses the house, suggests to the family that they might want to attend church a little more regularly, finishes his coffee cake, and dips out.
Oh my God.
So... the family does start going to church, so it's effective in that regard. And they start playing praise music and Christian music throughout the house
to kind
of
of
try to settle things. But they only escalate from there.
Oh no.
Alan is sleeping in his daughter's room at this point to try to help reassure her. I mean, they've got bunk beds, so there's an extra bunk. There's, the baby's in a crib. The big kid has his own room, and so he's in the room with his daughter. And one night he sees a fog that turns into a figure, and he hears in his head the voice saying, "You're dead."
Oh no.
So by little things like this,
little things,
they keep happening. But finally around Christmas he has had enough, and he starts screaming at the entity, telling it, "Leave the kids alone. Come to me if you're coming for someone."
Oh, wow.
Let's give it the Zach Baggins treatment.
Right.
See
Yep.
January 7th, 1988.
Okay.
Alan is coming home from work at about 2 a.m.
Okay.
He is working, like I said, he works at a manufacturing plant. He's a shift supervisor, so he works night shift a lot.
Gotcha.
He is coming up the driveway, and he hears the wind, howling real quietly, and then it gets real loud, and then kind of, the way it was described was kind of like, when you hear a really bad wind when you're up on the top of a bluff?
Yes.
It's like that. And then he hears a voice saying, "Come here."
Oh, no.
And he's like, shakes it off, "I'm tired."
Right.
Again, "Come here." It's coming from the garage.
Okay.
He heads towards the garage.
Sure.
maybe it's an intruder.
Right, exactly.
As he walks up to the garage, he sees that the garage is on fire from the inside. Just the interior of the garage is engulfed in flames, and in the middle of the flames, Alan can see eyes in the window.
Oh my God.
He runs into the house, because that's the first thing you do. And then he's like, wait, what the hell am I doing? Drops his metal lunch pail, runs back out to the garage, like, shoot, the garage is on fire. I've got to do something about this. The garage is perfectly fine.
Holy cow.
Completely back to normal.
Oh my God.
But when he comes back inside, the lunch pail, the metal lunchbox does launch itself across the room.
Oh, of course. Like it does.
Little things. So, 2 weeks later, January 21st, 1988.
Okay.
Alan is again working an overnight shift, but a relative of the family is going to come and stay with the wife and the kids.
Okay.
Like, hey, sure, I will be there. We'll let you know if anything happens. The relative that's coming to stay is a major skeptic.
Oh.
Like, does not believe in the supernatural at all. Like, yeah, sure, okay, it's fine. I'll come stay with them. Everybody's just got their nerves up.
Sure.
It'll be fine. In the middle of the night, the flaming witch appears to all of them, including the skeptic relative.
Oh my God.
Who, like, I think that relative sees it first and is the one to scream, waking up everyone. Debbie, the wife, had enough. Finally, someone with some sense in this. She's like, get their stuff, get the kids.
Right.
Get out. So they leave and she's like, I will never step foot in that house again. I don't care. I don't care what I leave behind.
Just
never again. Now, word gets around about this. And Horicon is a town of 3,800 people.
Tiny town.
So even though the Tallmans aren't really talking, they're keeping all of this very, very private, apart from, like, their pastor.
Right.
But the townspeople are talking.
Of course they are.
And amongst the rumors... Oh, okay. There's a hole to hell in the basement.
What?
Like some kind of a portal that opens to the underworld. Blood sometimes is seen oozing from the walls, again, particularly in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a snowblower in the driveway that cleared the driveway by itself.
Oh, it's so scary. So scary.
If that isn't the most Wisconsin thing
I'm gonna snow blow your driveway.
I know, I'm like, even their demons were Midwest nice. Oh yeah, or that the Tallman House. Oh, that's a real nice ghost they got there. Go pack. I already left them some cheese. Apologies to any Wisconsin Mighty Buddies for my horrible approximation of a Wisconsin accent. The house on Larrabee Street becomes utter circus, right? Hundreds of cars. People are coming from all over the place now. People are climbing fences.
Oh, no.
They are looking in windows. They're, as you know, people are like trying to take souvenirs. So they're picking, anything they can get from, this is where something spooky's happening.
Right.
One drunk man showed up with a Bible and like wandered onto the grounds of the house and was like loudly telling anyone and everyone that he was going to perform an exorcism. But before he can, he's arrested for drunk driving.
Yeah.
Arrested for drunk driving in Wisconsin.
He was really drunk.
So even old Pastor Wayne decides he wants to take another bite at the apple here, right?
Oh my God.
So he and the chief of police and 2 officers go back into the home on January 25th. Like, these guys are going to get it done. They'll, like, leave everything to me, ma'am.
Oh my God.
Oh,
yeah. No, there's a guy in a golf cap, guy in a jacket, tall guy, with a tie, and then another guy with like a regular hat.
Those are all the cops and the pastor.
Yep.
And I said, so the guy in the black jacket with the tie,
Yeah.
that is the chief of police.
Okay.
And you can tell because he's the one that gets to wear that mustache. So the chief of police, they don't find anything when they go in, but all of this attention in the community means that even though the Tallmans have been very private, the police chief wants them to like do just an interview or two, just something, because people are threatening now. They're like, we should burn the house down and da-da-da. And they're like, no, we don't want that.
Right.
Could you please just do something to try and quell some of the curiosity?
Exactly.
So, begrudgingly, the Tallman family agreed to talk to Unsolved Mysteries. How we do it? I don't know. But they did this on just a couple of conditions. Number one, actors were going to play them. They would not play themselves.
Oh, okay.
The way that
Unsolved Mysteries, they're like...
They usually talk to the real people.
Exactly.
But not in this case.
Okay.
Number two, when they had like any voiceovers where they were actually speaking to one of the Tallmans, their voices were like faded and their faces were blurred.
Okay.
So anything was completely anonymous, and they also insisted that all of the names, particularly of their children, be changed.
Got it. Okay.
So they're trying to, and they get offered, it should also be noted that they are offered $1 million deals from like tabloids, people wanting the movie rights.
Wow.
They did not and have not ever taken any money for this. They were like, look, we're doing this as a favor to the town. We really just want to put this chapter behind us.
Sure.
And no more.
Right.
So they could have sold this story dozens of times over, but they never did.
Wow.
Meanwhile, so about the house,
Uh-huh.
the loan company, which was Farmers Home Administration, they agreed to take the house back and like resell it, and so they're
not losing a bunch of money.
So they're not losing a bunch of money. In fact, the Tallmans only lose about $3,000 on this deal. Now, this is not typical, and this is not something that is offered in most cases.
Exactly.
But they were like, well, you know, when asked about it, they're like, our company will sometimes make exceptions on a case-by-case basis, and so in this case, they did.
Wow.
In April of 1988, a new family moves into the house on Larrabee Street.
Oh, no.
They have no experiences out of the ordinary. None. Nada. Zip. Zilch. Nothing. Totally fine.
I wonder why.
Well, some people had speculated when they're talking about, like, well, what happened there really, that a gas leak might have been responsible. And there were some homes on that same, in that same neighborhood that did have faulty fittings repaired.
Oh.
But the Tallman House was never one of them.
Oh, okay.
The Unsolved Mysteries episode airs in 10/26/88, so in October of 88. Mm-hmm. It's still unsolved. You know, but again, no experiences for the new family at all, which is kind of what is part of what makes this so unusual. There are a couple of other things that have added to the mystery.
Okay.
Number one, all of any coverage of this at all, house number is never given out. Ever.
Okay.
To this day, it's still debated kind of which house, like the house is apparently still standing.
Okay.
But nobody can really say for sure unless you know from being there which one it is. There are no records listed for it on the MLS, so any of the sale records...
you can't find it.
Can't find them. And that section of Larrabee Street doesn't appear on Google Maps.
What?
That whole section just seems...
You looked it up?
Yes, I was going to say. I couldn't really tell where to look it up because you don't know what house number it is. But apparently there is a little section
of Larrabee
that's just not there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Also, the episode of Unsolved Mysteries, this was season 1, episode 3, It's not in the Amazon video re-release. It's been scrubbed kind of from the archives. Apparently, it was available on a VHS tape called Unsolved Mysteries, Ghosts, or Hauntings that came out also in the 80s.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's scrubbed from everywhere. Now, you can still find it on YouTube, or at least that segment if you look, but the whole episode released by Unsolved Mysteries, not there at all.
Crazy.
Their producers say that sometimes it has to do with like legal rights and this, that, and the other, and they have a team, but they don't speak particularly to the Tallman case, and they kind of just talk around it.
Wow.
And also there's a Redditor. I know, there's a Redditor for everything.
Right.
Who claims to work with Alan and said the entire staff knew never ever to bring it up.
Really?
Yeah. Now, there's one more little piece of the puzzle that we need to kind of know what happened, right?
Yeah. What would that be? Like where's the bunk bed?
Where are the bunk beds?
Yes.
Yes. Well, they were taken to a dump, crushed, burned, and buried in a landfill where nothing will ever be built on top of them.
Oh, wow.
And that location is also, to this day, kept a secret.
Wow.
So that is the story of the
Wow.
Tallman family hauntings.
That's a good one.
And my sources today, Haunted America book by Beth Scott and Michael Norman, the Whatif Podcast, Unsolved Mysteries Rewind, which recaps episodes of old Unsolved Mysteries. You would like that one?
Right.
Cultofweird.com, newsfromthespiritworld.com, and of course, the episode section of Unsolved Mysteries.
Nice. Yay!
Right.
We both had good,
That's
like,
right.
spooky stories.
We did. We did. And this is where we would normally go out back, but I'm going to take Janet down to my basement and show her the new bunk beds. And we'll be back with What's Nice.
We'll be back with What's Nice. If you enjoy getting muddy with us, here are some ways to help support the podcast. Send your ideas to bigmuddymayhem@gmail.com. Like and subscribe to the podcast on the platform you are listening to. And of course, a good review will help us reach more listeners. If you're listening on YouTube, leave a comment in the comments section. Make sure to join our Facebook group where we can discuss the episodes and hear your suggestions. And of course, tell your friends and family. And now, let's get back to What's Nice.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. And now it's time for What's Nice.
It is time for What's Nice, and I think you go first.
Yeah. So,
what do you have for us along the river?
Since they lived in Cincinnati for a long time, we're going to go to Cincinnati because that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It makes Cincinnati.
I am going to talk about a museum that happens to be in Cincinnati.
Okay.
It is the American Sign Museum.
Oh, okay.
So it goes by ASM, which I think is funny.
Okay,
but,
right.
That is, yeah. It is a sign museum. They have all sorts of fun things here.
Science?
I know, right? It's art, science, and history all in one place. From lectures to family days, these museum events are a great way to experience and learn more about the collection and sign making, whether you are a sign pro looking to enhance your knowledge or just looking for something fun to do.
Okay.
They do weekly tours, they do guided tours, they do neon demonstrations.
Oh, fun. Yeah, I was just about to ask, are these all like neon signs or
I think they have all sorts
all
of
kinds.
signs.
Any sign is a sign?
You can
Some people see signs anywhere, Janet.
They have a maker series where you can make your own dimensional wood sign. Like here's one here for $150. If you're a member, you can make your own wooden sign.
Okay, fantastic.
They have camps. They have just crafting and stuff for kids. The history about this museum, I don't think it's been around for super long. The American Sign Museum promotes sign preservation and restoration by displaying nearly 100 years of signage. We preserve and protect American history and pay homage to the artistry and craftsmanship of days gone by. The collection honors an often overlooked part of our culture that hides in plain sight as part of our daily lives. Tom Swarmstedt spent 26 years on the staff of Signs of the Times magazine, which was founded in 1906. He became the 4th generation editor to the Bible of Sign Industry. Anyway, Todd founded the National Signs of the Times Museum, which accelerated support. The museum was renamed and reopened as the American Sign Museum in May of 2005. Its temporary home within an arts center sufficed for several years, but growing pains ensued. And so they ended up getting their own building. And it just looks really, really neat.
What does the sign for the American Sign Museum look like?
They don't have a picture of it.
You would think that of all things, come on.
Right?
But that does still kind of sound nice. I do like
here's a picture of the front. You can kind of see the front.
Okay, it looks like the sign might be like something that looks almost like a giant like cowboy or somebody in like an outfit, and he is a big 3D character holding a banner out in between his hands.
Right, exactly. The museum hours are Wednesday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you're a member, it's free. Adults, it's $20. Students are $10. Children under 12 are free. But yeah, you can do guided tours, and it just looks like a pretty neat place.
Nice.
So that is my.
Nice.
It's on 1330 Monmouth Avenue in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh,
so that is my what's nice in Cincinnati.
Awesome. Yeah, from what I understand, there's a whole lot to see in Cincinnati.
It seems like it.
I think I've driven through it, but I haven't actually ever had a chance to go there. So, but I'm sure that if I do, I will look for signs.
Exactly. Look for the signs, Tracy.
For the signs. So my what's nice does take place in Horicon, Wisconsin. Horicon, Wisconsinites, get at me. And I'm going to talk about the Horicon Marsh.
Okay.
And subsequent national and state wildlife refuges that are a part of the marsh. Now, the Horicon Marsh is 30,000 acres of wetland.
Oh, wow.
It is one of the largest wetland areas in North America.
Oh.
Some sources said the largest, but then I heard a couple of others that were like one of. So
one of.
I'm sure those things are fluctuating.
Right.
It was carved by a glacier.
Okay.
Like a prehistoric glacier.
Right.
And occupied at one time by mound builders or what they call like Paleo Indians that are like the same, like the Mississippian cultures that lived over at Cahokia. Right. So then later in 1846, after they have this giant like prehistoric glacier, settlers decide that they're going to build a dam on it in some part to power a sawmill. And then in 1910 to 1914, they tried to drain it for farmland, but the land just ended up, it was like too dry to be marsh, but not good enough to be farmland, so it was just useless.
Oh my God.
And somewhere at some point in time, it catches fire.
Oh my gosh.
Fire swamp.
Fire swamp.
Yeah. Luckily, due to decades of conservation, and when I say decades, I mean conservation efforts start in like the late 1920s, early 1930s. So today, the marsh is healthy and thriving.
Nice.
And, has been kind of restored to its natural state. They offer paddling. They have 5 miles of hiking trails. They have a really cool looking education center that looks like it's got stuff that would be fun for kids, but also the kind of thing that I would just be going from section to section going, wow, really?
Right.
Ooh, lots to learn. And, educational talks and classes and things like that. And they have a life-size 7,000-pound mammoth sculpture.
Oh, wow.
Named Curly.
Oh, my God. It's adorable.
Because curly mammoths would have been one of the species that was once at home in this marshland.
Of course.
And so they have a big mammoth named Curly, and that's the big attraction for the kids.
Nice.
And they also have, part of the area is just refuge for migrating birds. And they said they literally see like millions of wild migrating birds every year. This is particularly a very important stop for like ducks and Canada geese that fly north for the winter.
Oh, wow.
Because it's in Wisconsin.
Right.
So it's like that last road stop before you're going to be on the highway for, hundreds of miles, right? Like, quack, quack, quack if you need to get a snack, Everybody poop before we go? That's all right. We'll just do it on the cars. Yeah. So that is a very short What's Nice about the Horicon Marsh.
Nice.
And my sources for this were Wikipedia, dnr.wisconsin.gov, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and horiconmarsh.org, which is owned by the Friends of Horicon Marsh. And from them, you can learn all about any of the cool nature programs, walks, paddling, boat tours, hiking, all of the stuff that you can do up in the wetlands.
Nice. Yay. Well, that was great.
That was. We've had a couple of good stories today.
Right.
I am surprised that we kind of came together. You all will be hearing this after our live, but I'm surprised that we came together with something polished less than 48 hours before go time.
Doing the other thing, yes.
But you know what? You guys are listening now. The show went great. We were so happy to see all of you. We loved it. It was so nice to feel warm and welcomed. All of the tech worked perfectly. Probably the best show we ever did, right, Janet?
Of course.
All right. So now that we're basking in the glow of that perfection, there is only one more thing that we need to say to you for this evening, and that is...
Stay Midwest nice.
Stay Midwest nice.